Daniel Eric Markle was born in Montreal in October 1972 and raised in Toronto within a Jewish household that shaped his identity. Those who knew him described an unusually energetic mind that never stopped questioning. He earned degrees from Harvard, Cambridge, and Harvard Law School, eventually becoming a beloved professor at Florida State University. He was a devoted father to two young sons and a respected scholar of criminal law, whose work examined justice, mercy, and the limits of vengeance. Dan met Wendy Adelson through J-Date, and they married in February 2006. Wendy came from a wealthy South Florida family where her mother Donna was the emotional center. Her brother Charlie was a dentist. The Adelsons were described as insular and tightly bonded. Dan and Wendy moved to Tallahassee, built careers together at the law school, and had two sons born in 2009 and 2010. The marriage looked like a perfect match of two ambitious people sharing every part of their lives. The marriage unraveled quietly beneath the surface. On September 10, 2012, while Dan traveled for work, Wendy filed for divorce and moved out with their sons. Dan returned to an empty home. The divorce was finalized in July 2013, awarding shared custody. The legal battle continued fiercely over money, property, and custody. Wendy wanted to relocate nearly 500 miles to South Florida, but the judge denied her request, siding with Dan. That legal defeat infuriated Donna Adelson. She began pushing aggressive strategies, including a $1 million buyout offer that Dan refused. She made hostile remarks about Dan in emails and suggested Wendy falsely claim the boys were being raised as Christians. Dan fought back by filing a motion to restrict Donna's unsupervised access to his sons, alleging she spoke negatively about him to the children. The hearing was scheduled for May 2014 but was postponed. The bridge to hired violence ran through Catherine Magbanua, romantically connected to Charlie Adelson and the mother of Sigfredo Garcia's children. This single relationship connected the Adelson family to Garcia and Luis Rivera, two men willing to kill for money. In June 2014, they drove to Tallahassee carrying Dan's photo and address. They lost track of him and returned to South Florida without completing the job. Dan remained unaware of this failed attempt. On July 15, 2014, a Toyota Prius was rented in North Miami. Garcia and Rivera drove back to Tallahassee. They learned Dan was flying to New York the next day. The timeline accelerated. A $100,000 payment was arranged through Charlie to Magbanua to Garcia and Rivera, structured to create distance between the planners and the shooters. The compartmentalized chain ensured no one knew more than necessary about the people above them. On July 18, 2014, Dan followed his routine. He dropped his sons at preschool, went to the gym, and drove home. Surveillance footage showed the green Prius trailing him all morning. He mentioned to someone on the phone that he noticed an unfamiliar person near his driveway. The person on the call heard sounds consistent with an attack. At 11 a.m., Dan was shot twice in the head at close range while sitting in his car in his own garage. The attackers fled. Dan was rushed to the hospital but died the next day at age 41, leaving behind two young sons and a devastated Canadian family. For 2 years, the investigation stalled. Detectives traced the Prius and identified Garcia and Rivera, but found no link to the Adelsons. In 2016, the FBI staged an undercover bump operation, approaching Donna with a blackmail threat that triggered a chain of panicked calls. Donna called Charlie. Charlie called Magbanua. Magbanua called Garcia. The call chain gave investigators direct evidence connecting every layer of the conspiracy. A secret restaurant recording between Charlie and Magbanua took years to enhance but became the key piece of evidence against him. Garcia was convicted in 2019. Magbanua was convicted in 2022. Charlie was arrested in April 2022 and convicted in November 2023. Donna was arrested attempting a one-way flight to Vietnam just days after Charlie's conviction. Her trial began in 2025 with 26 witnesses, including her estranged son, who testified the family showed no curiosity about Dan's murder. On September 4, 2025, Donna was convicted of murder, conspiracy, and solicitation, sentenced to life without parole. 5 defendants, 5 convictions, a decade-long investigation that finally delivered justice for Dan Markel.